those eagle-eyed amongst you will know that means we now come on to the final team in our second preview show. Am I coming to you, Michael?
No,
we're going over that way.
I just wonder why you're rubbing your hands.
Oh, because there's so many good fun things to talk about here.
We might sing. So let's stick 10 minutes on the clock, Raj, and we're going to talk Sunrisers Hyderabad.
Sunrisers Hyderabad, a very busy team during the auction and in the off season. New Zealand link Daniel Vettori, although maybe Australia's going to claim him now that he's part of their setup and brought a lot of Australians along with him. Replaces Brian Lara. James Franklin's actually come in for Dale Steyn. So unfortunately, we won't get to see Dale Steyn's beautiful hair in this tournament, which is a real shame, certainly from my point of view. But yeah, busy at the auction. Pat Cummins came along and made him the captain as well. They've added Travis Head, Hasaranga, and Unadkat as well, some of the big names that have come along. I think maybe the place to start is to have a conversation about what they've done, because it was a big feature when we talked about the auction. They basically now have like 7 or 8 guys for their overseas players, and they can only fit 4 of them in, but it is an impossible decision if you ask me.
So let's list them. Glenn Phillips.
Yep.
Heinrich Klaassen. Pat Cummins. Hasaranga. Travis Head. Marco Janssen. Aiden Markram. And Faruqi.
Yeah.
So they've got 8 that could all potentially play. Now, I think we can probably say that Faruqi's not quite there, although he has played some pretty good cricket of late. But how do you fit those 7 guys, all of them quality internationals, into the 4 spots? And where, right? Where? Because the balance of the side depends a lot on where you put those 4 guys.
And can I also say, I think lack of depth in wicket keepers has almost forced their hands.
Klaassen plays in keeps.
To play Klaassen.
I think you have to play Klaassen anyway, don't you? I mean, he's just such an impactful player, 5-6 sort of range. I mean, Pat Cummins is obviously going to be there because he's the captain. I think Klaassen's kind of the second person I'd be putting on that list in terms of, overseas players. But then, you throw your hands up. It becomes a question, I think, of like, do you want the Aussie guys or do you want the South African guys? Because, Travis Head, I think you can probably. I don't know if Travis Head you can play Travis Head and Aiden Markram. I think one of those guys has to they're going to be pitting off against each other. And Markram was the captain last year. Yeah. He's a damaging player as well.
Tell me
genuinely could throw your hands up and
tell me where the weakness is in this team, right? Because that's what you need to plug with the international player you've got. So if you said you've got Cummins, Hasaranga, and Klaassen, are they the 3 overseas that you've picked so far?
Well, I think I would have Hasaranga because, you got Washington Sundar in there, but I think that having Hasaranga and Sundar in the middle there can really, really strengthen what you do with the rest of your side. I mean, you again, if you think it's a seam attack, I think Hasaranga and Marco Janssen will be kind of the interchangeable players in terms of that. They'll probably have to, if you're thinking balance of the side stuff, you'll have to go, okay, well, today we think it's going to spin more. We're going with Hasaranga, Janssen on the flip side. But I think that those 3 are in. So it really comes down for me what they can get out of their Indian seam attack, because you look at the guys that they've had on paper, there's a lot of recognizable names, right? You've got Bhuvi Kumar, who I think is a reliable player and has been a reliable player for them for a long time, apart from getting injured every now and again. But then there's Umran Malik, Natarajan, Unadkat, Markande. There's a lot of guys there who, particularly Umran Malik, who fascinates me because he's someone that can bowl absolute wheels. But, last year just completely lost it. He bowled average of 43, economy rate of 10. And if those guys, and, if him and Natarajan, if they can't find an attack out of their Indian seamers, then they're going to have to start using, then someone like Marco Janssen has to play. And then that changes everything with what you're going on.
Yeah, I still think they've got enough there. Like they've got basically 2 spots to fill from Bhuvi Kumar, Umran Malik, Natarajan, and Unadkat. I think there's enough cattle there to fill those 2 spots. And if one isn't performing, there's next guy up mentality in that they've got some guys that can fill that. I think the real question mark is where do they need their last player to be in the batting lineup?
So my question for you guys, and this is, I don't often get the chance to be non-partisan, but where you've got Hasaranga, you've got a bit of Washington Sundar from a spin perspective. Are you going to need the bowling option of Travis Head or Glenn Phillips? Glenn Phillips is obviously really impressed in this Test series, so we've got some recency bias there. But if you put it down to which of those two is your best overseas batter, when I'm looking at the permutations, that's what it comes down to be honest, is which of those two are you going to pick? From Phillips and Head, both explosive players. Phillips is probably going to come in lower in the order, isn't he? Whereas Head gives you an option to bat him at the top of the order or near the top of the order, or he can come in at 5. Both reasonable fielders, but Phillips would edge that.
Phillips is by far a better fielder.
But what I'm saying is that, neither of them are rubbish. Yeah. Who do they pick out of those two, or is that not the question?
I just, obviously I am biased, but just the Glenn Phillips, the strength he brings with his batting, the ability to close a game, or if they lose a few wickets early, bat the innings and then close the game, is just so crucial to me. I'm surprised that. I mean, I understand why we probably we've faded him a little bit, but I think that he would be a massive cog of any team, especially this team, when you've got the likes of Travis Head and Glenn Phillips himself, who could bowl spin that is sort of fired in there. It's not slow, loopy spin. They can fire it and stop runs at one end and attack from the other. Wanindu Hasaranga, if he doesn't take wickets with the ball, he becomes a lot less valuable to the team.
Yeah. So he might be a guy that misses out so that they can play Phillips and Head, because I like talk to me about the batting, Stu.
Well,
without their overseas, what does that look like?
Well, exactly. Yeah, I think that you've got people in there. You've got Abhishek Sharma, who I really rate as a younger player. But then you've got whether you fit in guys like Agarwal, Tripathi, and then Abdul Samad. Like it's compared with some of the other batting lineups that we've talked about from a local Indian perspective, it's not exactly blockbuster in terms of what they can offer. So I think you're right in terms of they're going to have to figure out where do we want to strengthen with these overseas players, because I love anyone who's listened to this podcast for any length of time knows that I love Glenn Phillips. But I think when they're on the depth chart, when he's on the depth chart with these names, I reckon he's probably just above Farooqi. Like, I really think that he's going to struggle to get a game just with the way that he's been used for the last 2 years.
I reckon they need him. I reckon they need his explosiveness in the middle order. I know they've got Klaas and I know they've got Abhishek, but they're going to need Glenn Phillips. And I think
that's the issue for Phillips, though, that Klaasen fills that role. I think that the power hitter is going to be Klaasen in that lineup, and maybe they might want to get Travis Head in there so that they can have someone to really go at the top of the order to bat with Sharma there. If they don't think that Agarwal is, quite up to it to doing that at this stage. I mean, I think Tripathi will be in there somewhere at 3 or 4. And then, they could go Travis Head, Aiden Markram, Heinrich Klaasen, and then have Pat Cummins. If they can trust those Indian bowlers, then they can really strengthen that batting with all of these names that we've had. And that's why I really do think that local Indian seam attack can really play a massive part to the success of them, because it can have such an impact on what they do with the rest of their lineup.
I'd have Phillips ahead of Markram. I know Markram is a great cricketer, but I just think Phillips, over or under, how many games is Phillips going to win off his own shoulder, off his own bat? In the field. He could win you. I mean, we looked at that test match. That catch he took to dismiss Labuschagne. Lots of people have talked it up, talked it down, whatever. Not many people in world cricket get their body into that position to take that catch. And if he does that twice in the tournament, that could be the difference between winning a game and finishing 4th and losing a game and finishing 6th. I think they have to pick him.
I'd love to see it, but I just don't think they will. But I would absolutely love it.
And I completely agree with why you said that.
Yeah.
And Baldy's just trying to moz it so that Travis Head plays, right?
No. I have them both in the team. I have them both in the team.
Oh, you have them both.
Yeah, I have them both. I have Phillips, Head, Klaassen, and Cummins. And Hasaranga comes in.
That was a late change.
A late change, yeah. I did not start that way, but I've convinced myself over the course of this 10 minutes to make that change. I'm nothing if not flexible.
Awesome.
Right, 8th in the betting, the Sunrisers. Where are they going to finish, Lip?
I think they'll be much better than that. I do think that they'll be a playoff side. I've got them sliding into 4th. I tend to agree with Raj that a lot of teams are interchangeable, but Captain Cummins, he's just the golden boy at the moment. Honestly, everything he touches seems to turn to gold. I think he'll contribute with bat and ball in this tournament. I think he's going to be an important player for them. And yeah, I think they'll slide into this tournament and pretty much upset some people.
Right. Well, that wraps up the team's preview with the Sunrisers Hyderabad.